Hello and welcome everyone for joining us this afternoon. Today we're doing another one of our webinar series, essentially highlighting Google's core update that was rolled out in December. This is essentially the first of our series in more educational content around what's happening around with the updates, best practices on what publishers are doing across the spectrum, and for those who are more deep with their product front end applications, what are some things that you could be looking out for with these new changing updates in the industry space. So to cover most of the content today, I wanted to introduce our marketing head Anand on the line. Anand has been driving all these initiatives at Quintide, and we'll be walking you through some of the updates over the next 15 to 20 minutes. We'll also bake in some room for Q&A towards the end of the demonstration. We'd encourage everyone to park their questions or put them out in the chat window. And as I mentioned, we'll also be leaving a call to action for those who wanted to discuss a little bit more about the topic in detail. And also planning sort of a monthly series with such industry updates that will be rolling out very timely. On that note, I'm going to hand it over right away to Anand.
Thank you, Vineet. Hey, everyone. So today we are going to talk about the latest updates that has been happening in the space of the Google algorithms. So there has been an update sometime in December, and that will be the focus of our session today. So what we are trying to do in this webinar is to sort of go through what we do, what are the latest changes to the core update. So what we know about it so far and what to do if you have been hit. So if you have any questions around it, you can drop them in the Q&A section and we will circle back to it towards the end of the presentation. So let's start off with what a core update really is. So in terms of, okay, so the core update is essentially, in Google's own words, is a change in the index that happens right now at every around 6 months in a year. So that happens usually twice a year kind of a thing. So this update was last implemented on the Google Algo sometime in the first week of December, and it was completed by the mid of December, just before the holidays. The first thing that you need to know about a core update is that core updates are not penalties, and also technical issues are rarely the cause of a traffic drop following a core update. So this means that the core updates are usually focused on rewarding good websites. And one example that Google gives you when you talk about the core updates is that they ask you to imagine the list of results as a list of top 100 movies. So every year when we update the list of top 100 movies, there might be new movies that get added to the list, or bad movies. I mean, there might be new movies that get added to the list, or there might be movies that go up or down. And that doesn't mean that the older movies are bad, just that there are better ones at this point. So Google does not really provide any information on what goes into these core updates apart from confirming that they actually happened. So as SEO specialists, or as part of the SEO teams or in our organizations, the best that we can do is sort of look at the public information and sort of understand what has changed and maybe take those inferences and make our website better. So the December core update has been a very broad kind of an update that has impacted websites across verticals. Every category from, let's say, entertainment to e-commerce has been hit. And the worst hit in this update seems to be the alternative medicine category. As you can see, there is almost a 25% decrease in traffic in the alternative medicine space. So as our audience today is mostly from the news and the media space, you might be interested in this particular stat, which is that there has been a slight drop in traffic of around 2.4% is what we are seeing in terms of data. But as with every update, there are winners and losers within the news media. So when you look at the winners and the losers in the news and media space, we checked out some of the popular sites in the space, and websites like Forbes has seen a very good uptick in traffic. Bloomberg seems to be doing slightly better, but the likes of Guardian or Independent seems to be badly hit. And one other interesting thing that we are seeing in this update is that, um, which is a byproduct of the way that we consume news in this pandemic, in the new normal, so to say. So there is a lot more local news that is being surfaced in Google, as people are more interested in knowing what is going around their neighborhood at this point. Um, The another interesting thing that we noticed was that there has been a dip in traffic of dictionaries and encyclopedia websites. This is again, Google seems to be thinking of websites that provide uh, definitions as irrelevant, because Google has sort of moved on to providing this information right on the position 0 of the search result. So the websites that are listed like dictionary.com or dictionary.com, they are not able to provide more value to the users who are looking for this kind of information. Uh, Moving on, coming to social media, it is like positive news all across the board, except for maybe the likes of Pinterest. YouTube is the biggest winner in this list. We are seeing a lot more video content that is being ranked, and Uh, this also leads to the behavior of users who prefer video content more than text content in this time and age. So while videos are expensive to produce, it might be worth exploring how much of your top text content could be converted into videos, and so that you can sort of start capturing those extra eyeballs, so to say. Uh, if you look at the list, the lone website that did not do well was Pinterest. We are not really sure what Pinterest is doing wrong, but it could be something related to their user experience, is what we understand at this point. So, as we looked at the data and spoke to some of the SEO specialists in this field, we found a couple of common themes, so to say, that has been at the core to this update that happened in December. So the first one is that Google seems to be our rewarding websites that focus on better headlines. So when I say better headlines, that does not mean the clickbaity kind of headlines, but the kind of content that is explanatory and easy to skip through. So websites that have easily well organized sections with explanatory headings seems to be doing well in this update. This example is from Dr. Axe, which they were badly hit in the May 2020 update, but they sort of revamped their whole content, and now they are slightly recovered in the December 2020 update. So this particular example of a liver detox article, what they have done is sort of organize the content into sections, and the headings are very self-explanatory and they're easy to skim through. So content like this seems to be doing well in the recent update. And the next part of the core update seems to be user experience. So we are seeing more websites that focus on the user experience, or the that rewards the websites that are doing well in providing information to the users seem to be doing well. So this example, we look at ehow.com, where the content is sort of buried within the ads all around it. And this particular layout did not do well in the recent update. Whereas another website called Answers, which has like a clear separation between the content and the ads, as well as having the content in the top fold, seems to be doing better. Uh, so on the recovery good news kind of a thing, we also looked at Gossip Corp as an example. So Gossip Corp is a US based website, a magazine website, which was again negatively impacted in the 2020 May 2020 update, but they seem to be seeing some gains in the December update. So what they did after the May 2020 update was that they completely revamped their website, and this is how their current website looks like. So as you can see, the new web design is much more cleaner. There is once again, a clear separation between the content and the ads. And it sort of prioritizes what the user is looking for when they uh, land on the website from a search query. So this sort of brings us to the next question, which is around what to do if you are hit by the latest update. Uh, as you can see, across categories, we have both winners and losers. And Google sort of this in this update, Google sort of seems to be rewarding more authoritative brands at the sort of at the top of search results. And the poor UX websites that have poor UX seems to be pushed down in this update. And if you are hit in this December 2020 update, it is highly unlikely that you will see a spike in traffic irrespective of what changes that you make, because the pattern that we are seeing is that any website that gets hit in a core update usually see a change in rankings towards the next core update. So when the index is refreshed, sometime in May is when you will start seeing the improvements that you make immediately. So we also looked at some of the things that publishers can start looking at if they have been hit. And the first one would be to sort of go through the quality raters guidelines. So this is a uh, list of guidelines that Google provides. Is its human raters to sort of guide the algorithm and list websites that have been that have a good user experience. So it's a 175-page document, and SEO professionals sort of go through the document and sort of try to interpret what search engines do uh, to rank content. So based on the, I mean, if you had to take like two things out of the 175-page document, right, that would be one would be EAT and the other one would be YMYL. So EAT talks to the signals that relate to expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. So this is okay. An example that I can pick for this would be an article around health. An article that would be written by a doctor would have a much higher trustworthiness than something that is written by a no-name freelancer. So this could mean that newsrooms that have influential writers, right? Now they should probably start promoting the journalists and having, so this could be in the form of having a better author page or having a author bio in each article, because Google sort of picks up on these signals. What we see is that sometimes newsrooms sort of push these articles under a generic username like a newsroom or a news desk or an editorial kind of username. Instead of that, if we can start promoting the writers, that would sort of play well to this signal. The second part of it is the YMYL signal, which talks about your money or your life. So this probably means that the categories of website that contain information that could have an impact on the user's health, wealth, or happiness, these websites would have a much harsher or rigorous kind of implementation of the EAT signal. So if you have any content that could impact your readers' health, wealth, or happiness, you should probably ensure that your EAT signals are in the right place. The second part of the puzzle is to sort of look at the website from a search user. So when they're looking for a particular keyword and landing on your website, are their needs met, or are they able to find the answers that they're looking for, or should they go back to search and find another website that gives them the answers? So in this case, an example is Pinterest that seems to have been hit in this particular update. So anything that you search online in terms of images, right? So home decor is an example in this particular case. You land on the Pinterest website, but there is nothing much you can do about it without creating an account. So this does not play well to their user experience, because the user is then either forced to sign in or then go back to search and find another websites that answers their search query. The third part of the puzzle would be to look at their crawl budgets. Google recently launched a help document around how developers can manage the way that the Google bot crawls on the website. And it talks about managing your URL inventory, or okay, taking a step back, what are crawl budgets, right? So Google has a particular budget for each website to go through their website URLs and index them. For large websites and websites that have high frequency of new content coming in, Googlebot sort of has a limitation on how much bandwidth it can spare for indexing the new content. Uh, yeah, so the recent help document that Google released has a lot of information on how you can manage your URL inventory, which has the likes of your 404 update, 404 errors, or your 301 errors, or how to make your pages more efficient to load so that Google can crawl it. And it also has a lot of mythbusters, such as should you have uh, the latest articles linked to from the homepage and things like that. Uh, so you should, if you have like a huge website that has like a lot of pieces of content coming out on a daily basis, you should probably keep a keen eye on your webmaster console and make sure that the Google bot is efficiently crawling your website. At Quintai, what we have done is we have gone through the crawl budget document and sort of made changes to our sitemap and other ways in which Google accesses the website so that all the latest articles get indexed and ranked as soon as the content is published. So this is an example from the backend of our CMS, which talks about, which has an option to sort of include the stories that were published in the last week or so. And the next one is something that you must have probably heard because this is the biggest SEO update of the year. Core Web Vitals, a set of quality signals that are important for your website to deliver a good user experience. There are three parts to this. One is regarding the loading of the website, one is about the interactivity of the website, and the third is the visual stability. Google has specific numbers that you need to hit if you want to be compliant with the Core Web Vitals. If you hit anywhere between the 75th percentile of the three metrics, then you're good to go. So we at Quintype have been working towards improving these metrics for our own client websites, and we are seeing some pretty interesting results so far. We'll soon be detailing our learnings in a separate webinar. So uh, we'll send out the invite for that one, which will sort of talk about what you need to do to improve your website and be compliant with Core Web Vitals. Uh, so that has been the update so far. And that is the information that we had. And if you have any questions, we can take them now.
Thank you very much, Anand, for covering those updates all over. We'll stay on the line for a few more minutes, in order to take any questions and for the group.
Mm-hmm. I think Ritu has a question. I'll just enable the audio for her. Hey, Ritu.
Hi. Hi, thanks. Sorry, I had trouble logging in, so I missed the first bit. But just one question. You said that Google now or Google has a limitation on how much bandwidth for indexing new content. Now, from the point of view of news website, how do you? What are the tips for managing crawl budgets from that point of view? Because as a news site, we will keep updating new content all the time.
Yes. Google has two ways in which they manage the crawl budget, right? So one is when new content is published on the website, and the second part is when someone visits the website for an old article. So the way that you can manage this is by ensuring that your sitemap is in top notch, so that you have your new sitemap, you have your regular sitemap which has the last mod tag into it. So those sort of tell Google that okay, this content has been modified, and that is something that I need to index rather than going through the whole website all over again.
Thanks. Also, would you be sharing these slides with us, please?
Mhm. Yeah, sure. I can drop
Yeah.
that as an email, and it also has the list of sources where we gather these data from. So your team will be able to sort of do your further research on this.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Just for everyone's interest, and I know there's been a few people who've joined in a little late. We've recorded this webinar, and we will be sharing a link to the recording of this webinar along with the content for everyone's consumption. This was primarily built with special requests that we had coming in from customers, but we feel that it's content that would essentially help the industry across the board. So with that initiative, this is the first attempt, and we'll hopefully be adding a webinar every month within the series. We still have room for more questions, for a couple more questions.
Hi, can I come in again?
Yes, please.
So your money or your life, that YMYL, and I'm asking this question specifically from our health sites point of view. It's almost like, is Google going to be a little suspicious of sites which are telling you how to be healthier? And is that what you were indicating? And therefore only, so a young reporter um, without an authoritative byline telling you how to fight COVID would sort of be seen as suspect content.
Yeah.
Um,
So this is yeah, that is the gist of it, right? So what we are seeing is that websites that are written by people who do not have an authority in the particular space are not seeing the content ranking. So an article written by a researcher or a PhD or a doctor would have much higher ranking than a content that is written by a journalist in that example. What we are seeing is that some publishers, what they do is they sort of co-author content. So they have a journalist writing the content, but they also have an additional author to the article who is like an expert uh, in the field.
so it would make sense to do, you might have lesser known researchers, etc., to have comprehensive author bios, right?
Yeah. One of the ways that you can do is sort of search the author's name along with the topic that they're writing about. So Google doesn't know real world credentials, right? So this is something that you'll have to build out over a period of time so that when you search for a person, you see the other articles that he has written, or he is an expert in the field, or he has the credentials for it, so to say.
What about video? Do we know how the core? I know that YouTube, you indicated that YouTube has been one of the better
Mhm.
luckier beneficiaries. But videos on sites, is there anything on the core web update on videos?
Um, so in the December update, we are seeing that YouTube videos are doing well, but I don't remember seeing any data around how videos within a story would perform differently from a story that doesn't have a video.
So if our YouTube has actually been not performing that well since December, we
Mhm.
need to seriously look at what we're doing, right?
Yeah, you could look at what kind of traffic sources that you are getting has been dropped off. So that will be like the first point of investigation to see what has changed.
All right, Anand, I think we have a few more questions that are popping up on chat and Q&A. Um,
Right.
I'm going to go with one that says, what are the mandate sitemaps that need to be updated as there are various forms of content we post?
Mhm. The sanitary ones are the regular sitemap as well as the news sitemap if you are in the news space. But if you have your own video hosting or if you have video content on your website, you could also look at the video sitemap as well. Um, Images sitemap also are used, but it doesn't look like it pulls in a lot of traffic on its own at this point.
All right. And another one um, goes to say, I think we have this one uh, asking about, on a news site, does it mean to say that all articles should carry a byline of a journalist?
Yeah, so that would be one of the best ways to sort of show the authoritativeness of the content. So it sort of tells the reader that the person writing this has some authority in what he's talking about, and it increases the trustworthiness of the content as well.
Okay. We have room for just the last couple questions. There's one from Mr. Mahesh asking about, I think you answered a little bit of that with Ritu, but any other update regarding the entertainment websites that are full of video content?
Hmm. Uh, Nothing that has surfaced in our research so far, but I'll gladly have a look at it again and then come back to Mahesh on that.
Sure. And you do recommend that the bylines are, by particular authors and not by the name of the publishers
Yeah.
in general,
So
because that will not help with the ranks.
yeah, having something like a news desk or something like from the editorial team doesn't usually help with the EAT update, at least.
There's an interesting question around sponsored content. How does that impact?
What we are seeing, I think sometime last year is when Google released an update with regards to sponsored links. Uh, so, uh, so what you're seeing is that Google now recommends that you add a REL equal to sponsored tag to all your sponsored links so that Google can consider them as a sponsored link. And this also ties into the Smith update. So I'm not sure if uh, we have the time to discuss that, but the Smith update is a improvement in the way that Google reads web pages and understand blocks of text, right? So now what you are now seeing is that instead of depending on links, Google is able to sort of understand the words within the text and then uh, link them to the corresponding website. So, for example, if you have a word quintype within a block of text, and if it is not linked to the website, it sort of seems to Google sort of seems to understand that this is a brand mention, even though the content is not linked. Uh, yeah.
Okay. All right. I think we're almost at the clock now. I know there are some more questions that
Mhm.
we are yet to answer, but we're going to take stock of these questions. And please feel free to email your questions directly if you would like, to Anand, myself, or just directly to Quintype. We're definitely here to pick it up, and have deeper conversations, or arrange a sort of one-on-one conversation to understand your challenges and solution around that better. But thank you so much for your time once again. Have a nice day, and we'll see you again. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.